But yeah, if we can figure that out, maybe we'll get some type of plays going with that. But I really do prefer the way that I typically do them, just because it allows for you guys to one, not be just completely spoon fed and just kind of hoping something plays out, but as well kind of have to put a little bit of work into it, but makes things a little bit cleaner, and you can wait for stuff to happen instead of just getting in as soon as we break something. So let's go ahead and see what we have here. We've went ahead and taken out this supply. So I am going to go ahead and label this as a break of structure now. And now this is technically a break of structure to the upside because we have taken out a swing point. So this should be interesting to see how we continue on. Really don't even need this marked anymore. Once again, as I said, right now we're going to be doing a little cleanup before we can get too far. Just seeing if there's anything I want to save. Nah, we'll figure it out. Yeah, I just want to clean that up. And right now, just filling in some of those spots because I still want to understand kind of how order flow played up to that point. But I don't need to, have everything marked out. So even in this case, now that we know all of that happened and that move really started down here, really there could be more orders in here. So I don't want to lock all of this as being liquidity, but for the most case, that's how I'd be looking at it. And I'd expect something in this block here. Actually, it's this unmitigated wick. So something really from like that to be the last bit of this. But as well, we broke, came down. Okay. I'll just take All right, so after that break of structure, what did we do? We did have some type of push that swept some liquidity. So I want to watch this as we go lower because this move did retest structure or this order block, whatever you want to call it. So that could be just quick continuation structure if price does want to just keep running from there. Otherwise, definitely can pull down a lot more. This would be kind of the extreme for what just happened here. And this would just be a point of interest I'd be watching. This is super high up there, but I'll watch it when I get lower. Okay. And the rest of that 4 hour, nothing else needs to really change. From a perspective of targets, we're gonna have to go higher. Yeah, we mentioned this in a few calls this week, or not this week, but we did mention it. I think it was actually in the call we had this week. It was very brief, but I was talking about how because of the way price is building up down here, and we see that we've broken, weekly structure. Now that price has broken this, let's think of this if this was a 1 minute time frame, right? If this was a 1 minute time frame, what do we see, right? We've just gotten a break of structure, and now this blue point would be considered chotch now that we've broke it, right? So we'd be expecting price can now pull back and really run up as high as all of this extreme supply, right? Because overall, we still are bearish, but price has already completed that bearish move. So now we're possibly coming into that pullback. So I'm definitely going to be interested to see how this plays out because we have a lot of room to the upside. Technically, we could start looking for unmitigated order blocks and stuff in here, but you don't want to just look for an unmitigated order block. You need purpose behind it, right? And the purpose would have been either our discount POI, which is what directly breaks structure, which we can see we already had multiple plays off of that trying to go back down. And then we have what started the move. So obviously we can start making our way back up there. So From a daily perspective, definitely makes sense to see price start pulling back down. Why is it not? Okay, that lines up. Yeah, this whole thing is a daily POI, so I just want to see this real quick before I keep going. Okay, so with that being said, I don't do this very often, but I'm going to go ahead and watch this inefficiency because I don't trade inefficiencies typically, but in this case, we see that daily order block is all the way up here, right? So say it's just a small daily tap. If we tap on that daily, most likely it's going to be 4-hour inefficiency. So that's a better spot to be looking for. And if we get a reaction, we know we can still be looking for possible buys to the upside. But obviously there's no POI or anything that I'm looking at necessarily there. Just I want to be watching for that reaction in case price touches that instead. If we keep going lower, yeah, I'm not really worried about this anymore. So a break happens. And the reason I'm using this as POI, by the way, is because even though price does make a new low high and kind of comes down, all of this is just stacked up. So in my opinion, it's just all liquidity, and it makes sense because that's where that break of structure happened. So we can easily come down, call it retest structure, push back, do whatever, right? Even if we're going to keep selling, this is something I want to start seeing get taken out to have confirmation. So I think for right now, that's mostly what I'd be looking at. 15-minute hasn't made enough of a move to really start paying attention to anything. This failed to break lows and this just stacked up. So really these highs and lows can get taken. So I'm not going to be looking to play aggressively off of like 15-minute as soon as the week starts. So let's go back up and see now what type of trades we'd be looking for. Just for means of understanding where we're at, I'm gonna put we're in this supply. Give me 2 seconds. So yeah, all right. I think that's about it on GU. We'll come back in a little bit and I'll put kind of the pieces of what I'm actually looking for that will send in the outlook. But what is this 4-hour? Yeah, so that's really all we're looking at on that. For EU, let's see what I need to clean up here. This irrelevant. Hold on 1 second. Might have been wrong on that swing point, to be honest, because this break of structure makes a lot more sense in the sense of this just being kind of continuation structure. Because if we look at this, we kind of mitigate this, but we more or less just leave a lot of liquidity here, right? Stacking up a lot of highs in this area. So it made sense for price to run straight through that anyways. And then beyond that, we see, okay, this is the high that really kind of pushed all of that down. So with that being said, we will, same as GU, be watching to see if this kind of call it extreme POI does give a reaction. And I'm not picking this based off of how I would if I was trading it. It's more or less just this is where price is, and I'm just kind of pointing it out. But more or less, It makes sense once again for this to be liquidity and to see price start to give some type of reaction. We'll see how the week opens up. But if we can start pushing down once again, we have a lot of room on EU and GU to the downside. So if price is even if this is a break of structure, right now that we've taken that out, if it wants to start creating that pullback, even if it wants to keep bullish, we have a lot of room to the downside to start, picking up orders. So EU, clean this up a little. Give me 2 seconds. All right. Yeah, let's see. This started that leg, so technically price can react off of something down here as well, but this is way further down, so I'm not really too worried about this right now. Anyways, doubt this will be something we have to worry about this week. And this is more of a point of interest, and I would love to refine this one down because this is ugly. Yeah, same thing as GU. We're gonna need to watch this inefficiency. That's a really big gap. Beyond that, I'd refine down to here. Jeez Louise. Why is this so big? Hold on 1 second. Extreme just means a point of it. So when we're looking at what's it called, price action, when we're looking for extreme, it's when we're using our swing points, so kind of trying to judge the whole move, right? So let's actually do this. So if we were to say price was already bullish, right, and now it's doing something like this, right? Boom, 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 right? Okay, well, we know our break of structure happens right here, right? So with that being said, it creates 2 points of interest, or for my trading style, I use 2 points of interest in this. I want this right here because this is practically the point of interest. Let me not go that far. this point of interest is what's directly related to the breakup structure, right? So it was the last time we gathered up buyers before we broke through the point of interest we were looking for, right? Or not point of interest, sorry, the point of structure. So when we create that breakup structure based on this POI, this becomes what we call a discount POI because it's a little bit higher up in that range, yes, but at the same time, it makes sense to continue that price action on to the upside if it would like to. Whereas our extreme POI just becomes the lowest point of interest that's unmitigated because we know this is what started that move to the upside. So if price decided to make a full blown pullback, right, it's okay to blow through this discount POI and then still come down to our extreme and we'd still be expecting it to buy. So just once again, extreme and discount is just the two different POIs we're looking for when we're looking for that pullback to continue on with the price. And then that would be extreme. No problem. All right, let's see. Yeah, I don't really want to refine these too much. Not too much I see right now that I want to play with. As the week starts, if we can sweep this POI, give some type of impulse to the downside, I'll start looking for supply zones then. But I just don't think right now is a smart time to just be like, oh, well, we're in supply. Let's start looking for something. Because as well, with that being said, knowing that we are still kind of reacting off the top of that supply of that extreme from the selling perspective, if price does start making its way out of here, excuse me, let's see, we pushed in with that candle. So the last push down was this. So I want to see my chart here. So if we can break below this point, with maintaining this, if we can break here, then I'll be looking for something like that to the downside. But otherwise, I don't really want to get into this trade too soon or start looking at it as supply until I start seeing a little bit more happen. So we'll go ahead and leave that chotch on there. And, you know, if y'all were in this call, you'll know why we're looking for it. But otherwise, we're not really going to be looking to jump into sells as soon as the week starts, at least. And I think as well, same thing, 15-minute, no real refinements on this POI. No need to really start digging into this price action. Can we? Yeah, I'm just going to do a quick markup on this to see if I even want to. Break here. Never even really filled that in, but regardless, swept liquidity initiated a new move. So this is valid here. So technically kind of something in here is demand for what created this push. Nothing ever gets mitigated. Very minuscule pullback. We finally mitigate something cleanly here. We'll continue that move. Just this build up. Price comes back to mitigate this range of demand after creating a big impulse that sweeps liquidity. Boom, we go back to the upside. Technically, there's stuff sitting in here, but I'm not a fan of that because once again, we know our last clean break was all the way down here because after that, price was really just moving up, 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 up. Right here is a little bit better because we see, okay, it did create a little bit of a pullback here, kept going, and then bigger impulse to the downside, looking like it did have intent to actually start bringing sellers in. So this might actually be a point of interest to watch. So what happened in this of creating that move back up, if this fails for sure, we'll know. I mean, price can at least come down to what we were talking about in these levels. So once again, it's very possible to see something like this, right? Price pull back, and then we start to see that move down. We'll see about USD Chef. I don't really play USD Chef, so I don't really like to outlook it like that. I only like to send out outlooks for pairs that I personally trade because I don't want to send out an outlook for something and then throughout the rest of the week I'm just completely not saying a word on it, and that'll happen a lot of times for a pair that I'm not trading. Like for instance, gold is one of those that honestly every gold out, well, not every, but most of the gold outlooks we've had in the last, couple of weeks have done extremely well, but I just personally don't even look at it. So we've missed a lot of trades by that. Even I remember this was like during a news event and we were even looking at it in that area, even though it spiked the stop loss, but more or less just understanding that area is what price was looking to do. We knew price was going to sell from here down right into our demand, bought off of our demand and continued running. And I mean, this move right here, you could have literally been holding for 10 days straight and you would have never seen a lick of drawdown. And I mean, it's going right into what our daily extreme levels. So we knew what price was doing, but once again, one, because I'm not a swing trader, and two, because I'm not actually watching the pair, we're going to miss a lot of those trades because I'm only looking for entries when I'm in my prime areas, right? So whether it be my demand level, maybe a supply level, whatever that is, those are the only areas I really want to get into price. So if we catch that area here, right, even if we were still looking for a sell here, right, that's a lot of time in between where we're really just not doing much. So what pairs do I like to trade? Anyone who knows me knows GBP USD. That is my thing. I trade GBP USD almost every single day. That Euro USD and USD CAD, I would say, are my top three. USD CAD as well. That's what we're looking at now. I don't think we're gonna have to do much of an outlook on this at all because this, I mean, actually same exact situation. This is when I do trade, and I think we caught this trade, but we caught it a little early, so we made money but didn't end up getting the whole trade. But we had this marked up as well as our POI, so I mean, we got tagged in here, and so I mean, since then, right, price is doing exactly what we expected, taking out all of this liquidity, making its way down to our points of interest. But same thing, that was what, a week ago now. So it's like after that happens, if it's not going to pull back into this extreme supply, or not extreme, but if it doesn't pull back into this supply I want, it's a lot of price just falling. And I'm not looking to really just jump in just because price is going down. I need some type of initiator or point of interest or something like that that actually has reason behind it. So I know that my trade's going to continue from a higher time frame perspective. So with that being said, USD CAD, I definitely will be watching very hard this week because we're coming right into these points of interest that I want to see. Technically, this would be discount and something down here would actually be extreme. But for the means of this leg of structure, I'm actually going to be watching both of these because I do think both of these might give a reaction. And also, I don't always need a reaction to bring us all the way to the top and break highs. Once again, as I said, I'm not necessarily a swing trader. So if I can understand as simple as, okay, price is bouncing off this discount POI. All right, as we're coming back into supply levels, right? Price has been bearish, obviously. To get down here, it had to be, right? So if we get to supply levels and we start to see prices respecting supply, all right, cool. We can open a counter trade and bring that right back down, right? And we can either close profit on these buys or leave them both open. I don't mind hedging, so it's something I'll do. And being able to understand, okay, if I catch this supply here and I caught this buy, one, all of this profit is now locked in. Two, if my buy fails, this supply is just going to bring me down to what I already wanted to see anyways, which is even better buys. So that's always something to pay attention to. A lot of times those unmitigated POIs you see, they're not necessarily going to be what is going to cause the break of structure or the full swing point break, but it will be that kind of ping pong price action. When you hear people saying ping pong, that's really all they're doing, right? Identifying a lot more POIs than the average person would. But if you're really good or patient is really what it comes down to, you can catch a lot of confirmation entries and just continue to play price from demand, selling at your supply, getting into a sell at your supply, riding it down to your next demand level, and then so on and so forth. So it allows you to play a lot more moves, but I will say it takes a little bit more patience and understanding of what's going on. Do you think options work the same as Forex? Fundamentally, from a charting aspect, they do, but options, the way that you make money, that part is actually different. Yes, you can study stocks and feel comfortable trading this. Day trader or scalper. I would say I'm more of a day trader because I don't necessarily scalp. Like I would say, in my opinion, at least, a scalper goes into the market with the intentions that they're looking to scalp, right? So what I mean by that is they're starting on something like a 5-minute, a 15-minute, right? And they're going as low as they can to see a move as fast as they can, right? Whereas I'm not really doing that. I set my trades up for probability more than time, if that makes sense. So when I'm looking for, let's say, this 4-hour discount POI, right? I don't really care that what's it called? No, let me rephrase that. So that's what changes me from not being a scalper in a sense, right? I'm waiting for this 4-hour POI to hit, right? Then I'm going to go down to 15-minute, 1 minute, whatever that may be, to start looking for confirmation to get into the trade. So now, even though I might get out of the trade a little bit fast, right? In the sense of I might get out at 100 pips instead of the entirety of the move, which is like, let's say a couple thousand or 800, whatever, right? So instead of holding that, I can get out a lot faster simply because I got my refinements on the 1 minute. So if we think of here, if we take, and I'll finish the outlook in a second, but what's it called? Let's go over this real quick. So for example, if we were to take this 4-hour move, right? Even though, so if we saw a price was coming into this 4-hour POI, even if we were on like a 15-minute, right? If we, let's say, caught, I don't know, let's say we saw this break of structure and we took this POI here, right? So with that, right, by the time price breaks these lows, we're already up 6 times our risk, right? So there's no need to have your full port or your entire position held on just because you think price is going to go somewhere. It's not that it can't, but I mean, you have 6 times your risk already. So you're going to start partialing out. So once again, for me, it allows me to get really high probable trades and higher risk to reward, but I don't have to be in that move for 8 hours, if that makes sense. So I hope that answered that question. But yeah, let's go ahead and get back to UCAD real quick. Once again, I don't think anything else I'm going to be looking to change on this one for right now. These are the POIs I want to see. And this POI is important to me because it swept liquidity first before dumping. So it gave an initiator. So now that we've initiated and got a nice impulse, we'll be waiting for price to return into these levels. Otherwise, we'll be watching this discount POI here. So, I mean, actually, both of these are discount POIs. So really, we might look to trade both of them. So if we can get tapped into this to start the week and then price starts running, we'll try to ride these buys all the way up into this sell. And then we'll try to ride these sells all the way back down, or vice versa, whatever happens. So that's really what we're going to be looking for on USD CAD. Let me see if we need to refine any lower. I don't believe so, because as I said, the more you refine lower, all it does is drop the probability of your trade, because at the end of the day, the lower we go, the less important the move is. The bigger moves show up on the higher time frame because they have a lot of reason behind them. Do you make more money with Forex than stocks? Myself personally, I do, but I say it depends on the person and how much you actually understand. It is easier to make more money with Forex than stocks, but I mean, there's also just learning curves to the both of them. Let's see. All right, so yeah, that's it for UCAD. 1 hour perspective wise, we could refine it down to here. Oop. An hour. And all of this is liquidity. This may look to do something though. All right, besides that, this 4 hour could be refined as well down to this. Just leave it like that. Actually, I'm gonna just do this. All right, and from our buying perspective, yeah, definitely don't really want to play with this too much. There's some liquidity though. I wouldn't mind seeing get swept if I want to wait on that. So I'll wait for that. Hourly wise, though, we definitely can refine down to here. All right, cool. So I think that's it for USD CAD as well. And by the way, I will post all of the, I might post them when we get out of this call, but what's it called, with the position tools and stuff, like how we typically do it, I will post those later. So let's see, I think that's it for USD CAD. Don't need anything else right now. Alrighty. And let's go with one more pair. Let's see how the dollar did. Oh, okay, cool. Fell perfectly in line with what we wanted to see, or not perfectly, but in a sense. All right, cool. So we see the dollar is definitely showing signs of being weaker right now, but overall, from a swing point perspective, we know that this is still a part of that. So technically, we could say more or less something like this is what's going on instead of all of those being green. So sweeping that liquidity isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I do want to pay attention to how the dollar performs, because if we do start to see the dollar becoming more bullish this week and starting to buy up, it's very possible to start seeing these pairs start to sell off. So if the week starts off and we're noticing that DXY is starting to actually get that volume back to the upside, definitely going to start looking for shorts on EU, Euro USD, and then buys for USD CAD. Whereas if I can start to see the dollar is continuing to lose value, right, and continuing to come down, well, in that case, I'm definitely going to be looking to buy Euro USD, GBP USD, and I'm looking to be selling and looking to sell USD CAD. So very simple on this. It's not like I'm trading it, so I don't want to be, trying to over refine or, oh, this is chach and that or wherever. This is more or less just for bias and understanding direction from a higher time frame. How often do I do these live sessions? I actually haven't done an outlook like this before. I typically do all of my outlooks alone. I don't really usually do them on webinars. Someone said, when looking at pairs and let's say the difference between them is 0.6, will you make more money? So it's not necessarily about, you don't make money on the difference of price. You make money based on, think of the ratio. So if we just, and this is why Forex is so easy to calculate money made, right? If we take a position tool, all you have to understand is that this blue area in this case is accounting for your stop loss, right? However big this is, whether it's this big, whether it's this big or this big, always accounts for one, right? Meaning one of your position, right? So equals one, which will be equal to your risk, right? So if we think of, all right, I'm risking $50, all right, Sire's risking 500 million because, Sire don't miss, and RZ, hey, he risked the entire market because man is the composite man. But regardless, whatever your risk is always going to be equal to one. So with that being said, right now, if we take our position tool, this is going to always tell us how much we're making, right? So this is 0.92 times that blue space, right? Whereas this is 4.1 times it, right? So if I'm risking $50, 50 times 4.1 is what? Your profit. So when it comes down to picking, lot sizes and stuff like that, don't let all of that confuse you. In Forex, it's literally as simple as putting your position size tool, and the rest of it is just filling in the blanks. Give me 1 second. We're going to go ahead and finish up this last pair real quick. DXY, I don't really want to update this. As I said, pretty good on that. But we're going to do one last pair, and then we will go ahead and answer a whole bunch of questions at the end. This is substructure, yeah. And then we know there is supply up here now. Alrighty. Let's see. What pair do y'all want to see? I'll go with one community pair this week. Something that I possibly don't trade, something y'all want to see. What pair do y'all want to see? Or do y'all want to just see like a NAS 100 or like a US 30 or something? Because in that case, if we have a NAS 100 or like US 30, then if you guys are trading options, Forex, whatever that is, you'll have like a kind of general market index. Because if we know NAS 100 is going up, well, you can expect SPY's going up. If it's going down, you can expect it's going down. All right, we got Steph Curry. That's funny. That was a good that you're talking about. Steph Curry's my dad. That's funny. I was making a video one time showing people how to make templates, and I don't know why. That was just what I put. Let's see. We've got GBP JPY. GJ, I won't do that one right now just because GJ will run really closely in line with GU. So if you do want to watch GBP JPY, just pay attention to GU, and mostly is going to line up kind of the same. Same thing with AUD USD. Watch EU and GU, going to be mostly around the same. After that, we've got some NAS. Okay. I need that markup video as well, preferably for mobile. Okay. NAS 100, US 30. Okay. All right, cool. Y'all want NAS. I'm not touching US 30. I don't know why I didn't say US 30, but we'll go with NAS. So let's go ahead and start and see what this is looking like. All righty. Actually, let's just do a full markup. Just reset. Alrighty. Let's start with that weekly. And let me go back to the daily to explain why I'm doing that. For this perspective, when I see prices like this, right? And okay, yes, we just broke structure to the downside, but as you know, if you've been on the lower time frame, this can be deceiving, right? If you only see prices breaking structure to the downside, that's cool, but make sure the higher time frame aligns with that, because just because the daily appears to look like that, as soon as we start going to that weekly, what do we see? Well, we were bullish for a while before. So this break of structure to the downside becomes a lot more insignificant. Not that it's not important at all, because obviously price has been moving down for a while, and that's the current trend. So we don't want to just flip on that. But in case price had hit something important, we do still want to check on this side. And in this case, I don't really see anything that I'm looking for. This is just another one of those examples of kind of what I was talking about from earlier of ping pong, right? Of okay, if we actually, let's say, took a horizontal line, right? Just threw this on to kind of find out, okay, over here where price is reacting off of. All right, technically, right, price is reacting off of something in, let's say, this block, right? But when you go to a higher time frame, it's not really like that's important in the sense of the grand scheme of things, right? So we could mark this up as demand all day long and start looking to take buys, but that only works when price happens to buy from that area. If price does not look to buy from that area, now you're just going to be picking out a random zone. So it's okay after the fact to be like, okay, cool, this is what price bounced off of, to then build your buys from. But once again, don't just go targeting random spots just because price is reacting off of it. US 30 is more volatile than NAS. Yes, 100%. What broker do I use? I use Prosperity. Okay, cool. So we see that that break of structure led us into our point of interest. So we know we had a little bit more of some breaks going on in here. And that would be considered substructure because overall we are bullish. Now we've got a little bit of a chotch going on in here. Price ends up sweeping this liquidity, reacting off of some type of demand level that must have been below. So we can assume from here to here, there's some type of point of interest. And we'll verify that on the lower time frame. So for this, we see, okay, makes sense to see price start pulling into these areas. Reason being is, yes, this is kind of what started it, but if we look, that kind of got, so let me kind of draw it out to see. So if we look, we see, all right, what happens here, right? We break, and then what happens? We come back down, mitigate this little point of interest here, right? So after mitigating that, we create our push up, leaving this demand, right? That demand fails. So we know that this is that point where we kind of had our chop, right? And switching over. So since we chopped to the downside, we see, all right, price attempted to make another high, didn't really mitigate kind of the extreme levels that are going on in here. So we'll still be watching those, right? But even though it didn't mitigate those extreme levels, right? What do we see happen, right? Price still came down and ended up continuing to break more stuff and pushing down, right? But after it came back up, we see price very vaguely, right? Doesn't do a huge tap, but does tap back into the supply zone. So with that being said, we know that continuation of structure came until here. And then we see that really aggressive impulse that price failed to fill in, and we continue moving down. So in a sense of points of interest, I'm going to look at this as a discount POI. So I'll be looking at this from a daily perspective. And I want to say this actually matches up with what RZ had marked up. He might have NAS 100 exactly marked up like this. If he does, don't think I'm trying to take that away. I just am seeing what I'm saying. But at the same time, I would agree with what RZ has been saying this week about it. So if we continue to go lower, and we go to our 4 hour. Actually, do we need to go lower yet? Yes, I want to go lower because I want to validate if this was a valid mitigation before saying this is demand. Because if this was kind of still that move building away, we might actually sweep this liquidity and go lower. I don't know, but I just want to make sure. So I'll leave this on for reference when I go lower, but I am going to be watching to verify that. Anything else in here? Just becomes liquidity as well as that. Let's go to 4 hour. Okay. Why is this so big on 4 hour? I'm gonna go with this as that POI instead. Change that down to the 4 hour demand. Can we validate it? All right, we broke lows here. After immediately took highs, came back down, took. Sorry if y'all hear me whispering, talking to myself. I was trying to kind of talk out what happened here. So kind of what I'm seeing happen in this area, right, was okay, price took lows, immediately took highs, came back for its reset, boom. Didn't break up yet, but dropped this last low right here. So this black one here. After that, that's when we see kind of this little build up, or call it your retail Dorito before we get out of there, right? So we finally blast away, and price took out, notice all of these lows, but it maintained this last low before we actually did all that. So that's why I'm trying to understand, okay, is this valid to say from demand here, or did price need to go lower? So sweeping something before we initiated shows me that price may not need to actually go lower. So the only reason I was kind of doing that. So yeah, definitely we'll be looking at what goes on in there. Really, this is what I would consider my charge. See what happens though, because I want to see lower one more. Ah, there it is. Yeah, I'm gonna leave this as a POI because it's very likely price may actually take all this. Because really, this is until a second leg of structure. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that as a point of interest, but we'll see what happens with that. Hmm. And it's right based on what I was saying too from that 4 hour, I mean, from the daily. Notice how on that daily, once again, this is that push after we lower time frame can confirm that this was our chotch. So if this is the push after we've already created chotch, it's not really the extreme. It's more or less in line with that flow kind of, that kept us moving up. So you don't always want to go with this POI because a lot of times price will come down for that extreme. So that's the only reason I'm kind of watching this. So in that case, I'm just going to leave this little liquidity marker here to say that I don't need to be too aggressive on this POI, but if it does come down there, I definitely do want to possibly looking for buys. More or less, I'm looking to take sells more than anything. So not too worried about the buys, but yeah. Cool. So besides that, we see our charge. Now we've came back up and gotten a nice break. Break structure. And in this case, this is a minor structure. Cool. So we see price did sweep this. So in a sense, we can see something here, give a little reaction. Yeah, I'm just gonna delete this actually. I'd rather wait for this POI. We're just gonna make this easier to visually see though. It's gonna be hard for people to actually understand why we're targeting there unless you go to that time frame and see what we saw. So we'll just go 4 hour and 50% because that practically gets us around the same area, waits for that liquidity to get swept, but doesn't require so much extra thinking. All right. Now we do have this POI, but that really didn't do much. So yeah, I think that's really it for what I'd be watching right now on NAS 100. Once again, not something I trade too often, so I'm 100% okay with having a little bit more of a, call it spaced out point of it, what's it called, outlook, because this isn't really going to give me a lot of opportunities during the week with this. If anything, it could take a couple days to give me an opportunity, but with that being said, I still know the direction that's happening, so I can still trade alongside that, right? I know we're coming off of a lot of volume and we have this discount here, some liquidity here, so it makes sense for price to keep pushing up to at least sweep some of this liquidity. So definitely can be looking for buys as the week starts, to kind of take some of that out. And then beyond that, yeah, I think that's really it. So now if anybody has any questions, now is the time to ask. We'll leave a little bit of time to answer some of those, and then we'll go ahead and get back to our weekends. Can I explain break of structure a little bit? Yeah, what about it? With minor and substructure. Gotcha. So when it comes down to breaks of structure and we're adding in minor and substructure, let's go ahead and look at a chart like this. Okay. That's a bad example, actually. Try one more. So let's say we're bullish, right? Price starts making that pullback. Now we start to come into continuation, pullback, continuation. And that is the main part to pay attention. Pullbacks and continuations, right? Because that's really all minor structure and substructure is telling you, right? When we're looking at a break of structure, that's telling us that the overall of, think of that range of what's happening. So this whole range, right, of this push up, that pullback until we finally break out of there, right? So that is all we call one leg of structure, right? So when that leg of structure is broken, we know that that becomes a break of structure, right? So we could say the same thing over here. All right, we've got a whole push up, a whole push down, and then we finally come back and break. So we know we had an entire leg of structure being created, right? So that leads to what we call a break of structure, right? Now, when it comes down to substructure and minor structure, all right, for our pullback, we know that that is going to be considered substructure, right? Because it is counter of what we actually want to see. So those breaks are going to look like this, right? Those movements to the downside where we're seeing, okay, price is breaking, but it's failing to take out this low. So as long as these breaks are only taking out kind of the lows and highs that they're making, it's just a substructure break, right? Because it's a part of that pullback, but on a granular scale, there's still going to be price action in between, right? And so what tells us we are out of that pullback, right, is our change of character, right? And our change of character is just price telling us or confirming to us that we've now moved back in the opposite direction. So from that perspective, right, we can now say, all right, this becomes minor structure because these breaks are in line with the overall trend. But notice one thing, right? Minor structure breaks can continue after a break of structure because we're still moving to the upside, but it hasn't created a whole pullback yet, right? These are minor pullbacks in consideration of the whole trend. So with that being said, once again, that's still minor structure. Now, what happens here when we flip back to the opposite side, that becomes what we call change character. So crouch down, and then this right here becomes our substructure. And so on and so forth. And I'm not going to keep going for each one, but regardless, this would be substructure, substructure, and then chotch, minor structure, minor structure. So I hope that answered that question a little bit more. And okay, we got a whole bunch more questions. One second. Does liquidity always mean a reversal? Not even close. Liquidity is, you want to think of more of a reset. So don't think of it as a continuation or a reversal. It's a reset on price action, and we want to see what price does after it sweeps that liquidity to then tell us what it's going to do. Do I trade crypto? Yes. I will start releasing crypto information soon, but I don't really like to touch crypto until I don't want to touch crypto again until we are back in a heavily bullish market, because there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the crypto markets, and the volatility can be, I mean, way worse than anything you've ever touched. So you can lose a lot of money in crypto when we're not bullish. So for my opinion, unless you're building up bags for, longer in the future and you plan to hold, I don't think you need to trade crypto every day. There's not enough volatility. I'd rather trade something like Forex, NAS 100, or something like that. There's actually money moving around every day. Think about how long has Bitcoin been sitting at 18,000, like, or 21,000 before it dropped. Like it something that has real potential is not going to just sit flat all day long. Even NAS 100, US 30, currency pairs, any of those, they might not have gone crazy numbers these last couple of months, but they're not sitting at the exact same number. If I want to start trading Forex, where do I need to start? I would highly suggest going into the webinars folder. and starting with the Forex introduction video. And as well, I will be making more kind of intro to Forex videos coming soon. Just want to see a little bit more about which pieces I think everybody needs a little bit more help with. You say this is a setup for Monday. Yes, all of the stuff we went over this week, I will send out tomorrow as well with what I'm really looking at in the sense of the position tools. So what I'm really looking at is still the same thing, but just putting these on so we can understand it. But we'll be looking at that, and I'll send all of those Sunday so that during the week we can be watching those. What do I mean by discount? Discount, once again, I went over it earlier, so I don't want to spend too much time on it, but discount POI is the point of interest that is the last one in relation to the breakup structure. What's the easiest way to spot structural liquidity? Understanding what weak structure is. So when you're looking for structural liquidity, you're looking for weak highs and weak lows, right? So if price makes high, makes low, and then we start doing this, right? All of this becomes structural liquidity, right? Because since price made this low and it failed to break, right? Technically, that's structural liquidity now, right? Because price failed to complete its purpose, right? Now, as well, this high and this high fail to break any lows, structural liquidity. But as well, on the opposite side, right? These lows are failing to break highs as well. So that's why when we start seeing these Dorito patterns happening in the market, we know that all of this area is just liquidity and weak price action. Someone said, if I get chotched before my higher time frame zone, should I still consider taking the trade or just disregard the structure? I would say if you get chotched before your higher time frame zone, it depends on the type of person you are. No. It depends on timing. If it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and nothing's happening and you chotch before your zone, I'd wait it out. Now, if it's 7:30 and New York market's about to open and we're sitting right under your POI, but we swept liquidity first and then chotch, maybe start paying attention to that. Because one thing you'll start to notice, right, is a confirmation entry is going to give you a confirmation entry to go break even a lot faster than you would think. So if you're taking confirmation entries, a lot of times you're going to lose a lot less trades, even if you are getting into price action a little bit early, right? You might end that trade break even, so no loss, no win, but it's not going to hurt you a lot of times if you are waiting for good confirmation entries. And I do know you know how to play structure pretty well. So I think for you, I would definitely say if you are seeing other reasons that price may go earlier, yes, start paying attention to it, but don't try to get into trades early, if that more or less. Hi, I'm new to the community and was wondering if you have a course that I can purchase. Currently finding it hard to understand, identify structure, similar to fully relying on your signals as much as I'm happy. Of course. So we always advocate for trying to, learn how to do everything yourself. So when it comes down to the things we offer, we have a whole bunch of webinars that are going to go over what each one of these, points of interest are, what an extreme POI is, a discount POI, supply and demand, market structure, all of that stuff. And then as well, we really, really highly suggest market recaps, trade recaps, webinars, things like that, trying to watch as much of those as you can, because it's not going to be an overnight or a 1, 2, 3 process where it's like, okay, you've done this, that, and the other, you're a profitable trader. It takes a little bit more time, and there's going to be nuggets and, little tips and tricks in each video that you'll pick up on. So I suggest just really going through that webinar section and trying to see what you can get out of that. Do you watch your trades or put in a setup and let it play out? Typically, I like to watch my trades because I'm not usually in them for too long anyways, maybe an hour or so at max. So what I'll usually do is, let's take, for example, let's say I was to get into this trade here, right? So if I was to get into this trade here, and let's say my targets are at the sky, right? What I'm going to be looking to do is, okay, so first things, myself personally, 1 to 4 is where I usually take profit, or 1 to 3, or my first partials, I'm sorry. So let's say in this case, we're going with just these highs because it's not 1 to 4, but 1 to 3, 5, 8, right? So I'm going to take my first partials here and then move my stop loss to break even, right? So what that does now is if price was to return back into these areas, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to end the trade, 1, with the profit that I took off already. And then 2, my trade's just going to close out for literally $0. No win, no loss. But it allows me to walk away and catch a lot more move if I want to. But otherwise, I don't have to really be watching all day. I'm a driver and work during the day. Mostly I need something I can trade back to stocks because it's not really working my time. Can you tell me how many hours Forex trade per day? Forex is open literally 24/5. So from Sunday night to Friday night, it's open. So I would just say pick your session that works best for you and find pairs that move during that session and kind of cater your time around that. Because one thing that I will say is a lot of people join Forex and they say, oh, I need to trade at nighttime, but then in the morning, they're back up trading. And it's like for Forex, you do want to kind of build some type of schedule around your pairs because I know GBP USD, I could tell you the time of day down to the minute almost of when it's going to make a certain move, right? So with that being said, I know what times I need to be on the chart. Now, if I'm just getting onto the chart at a random time of the day, my win rate does get affected. What pairs are recommended for beginners? I would say all of these pairs to the right. Practice those. Back test, back test, back test. You will find the pairs that you will like, and those are the ones I suggest you continue to trade. Don't just go off of a pair because somebody else likes it. For instance, NAS 100 is good for some people because they're not as good as refining their trades, so they need something to move a little bit faster so they can make that money still. Myself personally, I'm okay with refining my trades, so I can use something like EU, right? EU isn't the fastest moving pair in the world at all. But if you can refine it down really well and be patient, it's going to pay you 5-10 times more than something like NAS 100. Is trendline liquidity? Yes, same as any other type of liquidity. And candle patterns like pennants, I personally don't use retail patterns because we typically find that most of them do become liquidity. So if we think, I literally can barely tell you the names of these because I call them all retail Doritos now. But just like we were going over earlier when we talk about structural liquidity, because none of these points are actually breaking any highs or lows, they haven't created any real structure, right? So they're all liquidity in the sense weak price action. This type of weekly outlook is very helpful. No problem, no problem. Maybe we'll have to start doing these again. For partials and things like that, I would check out the Discord and the MetaTrader 4 video. It's very, very simple on how to do that though. And that should be in Forex intro. What times GU move the most? I'm going to give you all a little cheat sheet real quick. Hope y'all are paying attention. All right. For really regardless of what pair you're trading, if you're looking at like a Euro USD, GBP USD, USD CAD, the majors, look, this is it right here. No, my bad. 1:30 Central Standard Time to 3 o'clock Central Standard Time, AM, by the way. And then from about 7 a.m. Central Standard Time to about 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's going to be the best trades. Simple as that. Let me say it, the best trades. So if you want to know what times of the day to trade, this right here, it is the best time of the day. So where the most money is being moved around and you're going to get really big moves. So yes, you can trade throughout the day and there's other times you can trade. It's not going to be a problem, but in the sense of the best moves of the day, this is what you're looking for at least for GU and EU and stuff. Yes, I would say though that would be what I just said is for pairs that are based on London or New York session. So we know that because EU, right? That means Euro USD. I mean, I'm sorry, the Euro versus the US dollar. So both of those countries are going to be having their economies moving around money during the earlier hours of Central Time, right? Because that's when those people are awake, right? Whereas something like AUD right? People in Australia and Japan are probably asleep at that time. So there's not going to be as much money moving around. And as well, the United States and European economies are some of the biggest economies in the world. So, we also do move a lot of money in general. Can you send the best times for the best pairs? That's kind of what we went over. When you started, what did you learn and what did you read? Any recommendations to new traders? Honestly, my recommendations to new traders, I will say is very different from how I did stuff. So my recommendation for really anybody in any field is know the questions you're looking for first, right? And that sounds like, a catch-22, but what I mean by that is look at everything at first, right? Or at least that's how I had to do it, right? You guys obviously have, webinars and, the admins and things like that to reach out to, be able to be on a more streamlined process of learning one strategy. But I know all of us, we had every course in the world in YouTube, right? So we still had to go in and figure out, okay, retail doesn't work with institutional, or support and resistance doesn't work with order blocks, right? So at first, there's going to be a lot of stuff and you just don't know what you don't know. So at first, just try to pick up on as much information as you can. Make sure you're taking notes. However your brain processes things the best, do it in that way and continue to practice, back test and things like that. And that's how you'll learn and get better. Trading is a game of experience, not who has the best information, not who has the best YouTube channel. It's about experience. The longer you spend in the market, the better you will get. How much do you typically risk per trade? It depends on the account that I'm trading. How long did it take you to become profitable? Man, probably a year and a half, a while, maybe two. But yeah, looks like the questions have slowed down. So I think that is where we're going to go ahead and end it for the day. I do want to let everybody still enjoy their weekends. I hope everyone enjoyed this little market outlook. If you guys did enjoy it, I don't know, drop something in the chat. Let me know that you enjoyed it. Maybe we'll do another one of these next week. Maybe we'll make it into a thing to do every week. But you guys got to let me know. So if y'all enjoyed it, once again, let me know. Otherwise, if you need any help, always feel free to send me a message. If you need any help like that, and always send a message in the chat, tag on the admins, anything like that. But yeah, so I hope you all have a fantastic day. If you need to reach me, you know how to get to me. Deuces.